Hey everyone, welcome back to One Stop Flick Shop, and today I'm talking about my top 3 favorite movies that I watched in the year 2022. So let's get into it. So this video may be confusing. This is not the movies that came out in 2022 that are the best. These are the ones that have come out in previous years that I just watched for the first time, and I enjoyed them so much that I really wanted to talk about them, just because I really thought they were great. So, all right. So coming in at number 3 is a movie that many have probably not seen. It was a film that came back out in 2020 in January. So of course, it's that time where movies are very looked over, and it's a very low point for the box office. Which is kind of sad because I feel like this film is really underappreciated and it's really great. And that is a film called Last Full Measure. And it's a kind of a war drama about some Vietnam vets and the fight they do to get the Medal of Honor for their fellow soldier that sacrificed himself for them in battle. And it, from that premise, it seems like a very maybe generic war movie that you've seen before, but there's just something about this that really is moving. It portrays like real people with real emotions, and that it's just all throughout the film, and it's so many emotions. It's happy emotions, it's really sad emotions. It's just like really kind of, it shows you a side of war that not much of film does. You have your kind of action movie war where it's just good guys shooting machine guns at Nazis, and then you have like your psychological war where you have your jarheads and your apocalypse nows. And this one I feel like falls into a category of just like, it's there just to show the people that were there. And I think that's what some of the best war movies do, is that it doesn't show you the horrors of war, doesn't show you, just like bloody battles, because any movie can do that. And you can see all the movies that have tried and failed to do that, where they just throw carnage on a screen and say war. But the best ones I think are there that show the people that were in them. And it shows what an actual human being goes through in war. And it's not just, the horrors. There's high points, there's low points, there's really low points, and there's so many emotions because we're humans and we go through a whole emotion, all emotions. And I'm glad that this film did that. It shows there's the bad side of it, there's the where do you even categorize this side of it? There's the good side of it, and it's not there to give its opinion on the Vietnam War. It's not there to tell you whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise. It's just there to show you the people. And I think that's just what really works for it. You have a great cast here. You have Sebastian Stan, you have Samuel Jackson, Peter Fonda, William Hurt, Christopher Plummer, a whole bunch of just fantastic actors. And they're not just there as kind of for you to click on, on a Netflix page or anything. They're really bringing their A game here, and it's really on there. Like there's a scene with William Hurt, and he's crying, and it's like it brings so much out of you. And this film starts off with Sebastian Stan as kind of like this very like, I don't know if I really care about this, like just really distant. And that's how I was. I went into this film thinking that it was just going to be another kind of generic war drama that kind of does a lot to kind of bring out a lot of emotion. But this just wasn't that. It really was moving, and I don't tear up a lot in movies, but this brought out like real tears. And like there's the final scene in this movie like really shows what it was trying to, like it's not it's very symbolic, and it's not quiet about it, but that I think it really shows what the film was about. And it's It's about how, like, war and the things that happen after it, like what one person can do for so many others. And it's based on a true story, and it was like really interesting, just to hear this story that I've never heard before. And it just was a great film that I watched at the right time with the right people, and it gives me a different outlook on Vietnam, the war, and just the men that were there, and I would highly recommend it to anyone, just anyone out there, because I feel like it is truly an underappreciated film. It's not the best war film ever made. It's not even my favorite, but I would say that it really does a good job. And there's flaws in it, but the best stuff in it, is good, and it's not even really like lows. And so I'd highly recommend it. Great acting, just a really uplifting story. You don't get that many in war films. You have a lot that try and do the psychological stuff. This is just there to say, like, hey, here's some nice parts about humanity, and I appreciate that for them, because I feel like even talking to Vietnam vets and like hearing how this film, like, it really, they really enjoyed it, and not just because they can relate to it, because it helped them kind of say, yeah, this is how we feel about it, and I think that's just what all films should do. It's there to show an experience. So I would highly recommend it. So yeah. Number 2, this is a film that probably many know of. There's actually some controversy with it. Some say it's not that great, some say it's the best, and I'm on the category that it is great. I feel like it's a great movie. And that film is La La Land. Came back out in 2016, and it's been claimed as like the best musicals in 50 years. And I don't know how I feel on that, but I would say that it truly is like a great film. Every time I think about it, like, I still watch it, I rewatch it now. It's a great film, and because, again, real people, and I think that's a theme in these movies, that it shows real people. You can get caught up in a lot of superhero movies and a lot of action movies and a lot of blockbusters where, yeah, they're people and you still can relate, but sometimes they're very one note. And I feel like this year I've watched a lot of movies that had real people, real emotions that you could relate to, and that you can be like, oh yeah, that's how it is, or yep, that's the human experience, and that's what film should be, And La La Land was just, it's such a crazy film. Not crazy in like a crazy, but it's like, when I think about it, everything works for me, I heard someone say that it's a great job at being good at everything. That's what a film should be. It should be, yeah, the acting's good, the directing's good, the writing's good, and that's what it is. Everything's great about it. It has, yeah, on the musical side, really catchy songs. I listen to the soundtrack a lot now, ever since I watched it, and I think I love this film because when the credits roll, I'm just like, wow, that was a great experience, because it takes you on so many things. There's parts where you're like, that is so fun, and I want to go to LA. And then there's parts where you're like, that was so sad, and it's great. It's a great kind of romantic musical. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone just have great chemistry, and their relationship was just like really fun to watch, and it felt so real. And it's just like, every time I watch it, I'm just like, it's so sweet, and it's real. They have, falling outs, and they have arguments, but they have high moments and great moments, and that's how relationships are. But also what Damien Chazelle was able to do with, like, talking about dreaming, and how you dream for things and you want to aspire to things, and how he does that visually. La La Land has a great, it uses the color theory great. Like, that's one of my favorite. This is why I love to study film, is because I love seeing how he uses color in this, and that's been one of my favorite things to do ever since I watched this, is just look at, like, okay, I see how he uses this color to symbolize this and that, and that's when I just find that so cool, because also cinematography wise, this film is beautiful. You could frame any shot from this movie and it would hang it up on your wall, because it's just beautiful. And the music's good in it, like I said. But again, the directing is just really there. And it's not, because sometimes I don't like it when directors go like, hey, look at over stylized, like, look, we're going to do a long take, we're going to do a this and that. And it has great style, but it's not distracting to me. It doesn't pull me out and be like, oh, he's doing a long take, or he's doing this, or a jump cut. No, it all goes together, and that's what this film should do. And I feel like one thing is that it had a lot of emotion. It made me feel things in the movie. It wasn't just like passive watching. It was really like I was invested. And again, it has so many real things of like, yeah, sometimes you're not supposed to be with that person, or sometimes just things don't plan out. Sometimes to get to the thing you want, other things, don't pan out. And that was just so beautiful. Like, this film really is beautiful, and I think I would highly recommend it. And I don't understand why there's like, it's not great, because I feel like, I don't know how you don't feel anything while watching it. Again, it just puts a smile on my face. I think it's one of the greatest, like, just romance movies of all time. I truly would agree with that, because it has that whimsical feeling. It has that, but it has that also grounded sense. And like, yeah, not all relationships are just, dancing in the streets. Like, there is that great stuff and that dreamlike fantasy. And then there's real stuff, and I think, again, how you use dreams, like, not Inception like, but dreaming and aspiring to things, just really moving. And how these two people like want to go and do these things. It just makes me feel like, screw it, let's just go for it.
His speech is called "Go for It."
And it truly moved me, and I would highly recommend it again to anyone. It is a beautiful film, cinematography wise, great acting, and just all around a good movie. So finally, coming in at number 1, this was a film that came back out in 2017. This was the one that I can't stop thinking about. It's a great film. A lot of you have probably seen it, but really, it just, as all of these did, it moved me. It really made me just think. And out of the movies I watched in 2022, even the movies that came out this year, this, I think, is my favorite film that I watched this year. Even though, there's great movies that came out in 2022, this is the one, out of all the movies I watched this year, that this was my favorite. And it's Logan, and there's no real, I don't need to say anything else. If you've seen it, you know why. But this film, I just kind of sat down, I watched it by myself one day, and I don't know, it just was so good. It portrayed, this superhero as a real character, and it's such a R-rated, violent, like, depressing film, but in all of that, I still think it was truly one of the best movies I watched this year. And that's all thanks to, I think, a great performance by Hugh Jackman, that, again, that'll make me tear up at times, because it's so good. He's a real character. He's a broken person. It deals with such themes of, like, grief and, like, regret and death, and such uncomfortable topics. But I think the great thing about it is that it takes those topics and it's like, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but, like, let's talk about it. And that's life. You gotta talk about those things. You gotta talk about death. You have to get through these things. But that doesn't mean it's bad. We all will experience grief and regret and death, and sadness and like all these things. But that's okay. And that's what I think this film showed me. And it was like, yeah, that's just part of life. You know, in superhero films these days, it's all about, you know, this just big spectacle and a blockbuster and entertainment and fast joke and this. And this was a film that was like, it's a superhero film, but in all of its superhero isms, it's still going to be grounded and real, and it's still going to be relatable. You know, there's enough to be said. It truly is, I think, one of the best comic book movies ever made. But this was a film that it really resonated with me. You know, because Wolverine, I've always enjoyed. Ever since I was younger, I enjoyed this film. Not this film. I enjoyed Wolverine. I enjoyed the Wolverine, you know, the PG-13, you know, James Mangold one that, you know, has its flaws. I enjoyed it. I think there's good things about it. And so then when I finally watch Logan, and you kind of get like, this is the Wolverine story. You know, it takes the old man Logan, and it kind of does some new things with it. Takes some of its own creative liberties, and it truly was like an experience. Like by the end, I was just like, man, I'm so glad I watched that, because, you know, everyone knows the ending, you know. You know, he dies, spoiler alert. But it's not there in like because that's what everyone will talk about. He died. But everything before that is just as important. Every scene, like even Patrick Stewart, you know, his performance as Charles Xavier, like this is the film that closed, in my opinion, you know, I know there was films after, but this was the end of the X-Men franchise. And it went out, you know, great. Of course, there's other films after that, and Hugh Jackman is even returning, which I have some thoughts on, but this took all what the original films did, and the new ones that did, and it took Wolverine, and it was like, yeah, this guy's seen a lot, he's been through a lot, you know, we know he's been through like so much, you know, death. So let's do something with that. And it's like, I'm so glad that they didn't take the cheap route, you know, of just like, yep, let's do another kind of fun action movie, you know, like a 70s. No, it was like, let's do a Western, let's do dark, let's do depressing, let's do, you know, uncomfortable topics. And it was like, I'm so glad they did, because I feel like it was truly a human experience. With a crazy X-Men like mutant of Wolverine, it was a human experience, and it brought out human emotions. You know, that's what all these films have done, is that they just truly brought out emotion. And like I said, even in all its R-ratedness and violence and just like really intensity, you know, it still found those moments to actually, like, yeah, there's a scene with him having dinner, and it's really sweet. Or, you know, they're driving, and, you know, Charles is talking to Laura. Sweet moments like that just like, yeah, you know, this is life. You know, even all the bad stuff, you can find good stuff. And this film just really helped me look at how to look at grief, and how to look at like just these really sad things in life. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. You know. And I would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. You know, again, it's not a easy watch. It's not a very rewatchable film. But it truly is a great superhero movie, great movie in general, and a great character study. It really looks at Logan as a real person. And I really just, you know, I thank James Mangold and all the people that did that, because it's just great. And even like aesthetically and stylistically and directing wise, it's beautiful. Cinematography wise, it's great. And it just has also cool moments, you know, Logan running through the forest and tearing down guys. You know, it is cool, and it's Wolverine. And this is, I think, the best kind of look at a character just all around. you know, the cool action side of him, but the real human side to him. That's why we like Logan, because he's a cool guy, but he's also a real person. And again, this film really moved me, and that's why it is my favorite film that I watched this year. So I would highly recommend all these films to anyone. So there you go. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Kind of been a while since I posted, so I'm glad I got to talk about these films, because I really was just like, man, I got to talk about these movies, because they really did just really speak to me, you know, this year. And I think that's just great about film, is that we can just be like, yeah, that film impacted me, and it all impacts us differently, you know. And so yeah, so I'm curious, what was like the favorite movie you guys watched this year that you really enjoyed, you know, because that's the thing. It's like, yeah, it came out in 2016, but like I watched it this year, and oh man, it was so good. And so yeah, so hopefully I'll post some more videos, guys, coming soon. And so yeah, so just hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. If you don't mind, if you enjoy this video, liking it, and subscribing if you haven't. So see you guys later.